What's up, everybody? My name is Jacob Hardison, and today we're going to talk about caster and kickup. Alrighty, so here we are back with another Let's Talk video. Today we're going to discuss our caster, and we are going to talk about kickup again today. I have chatted about that a bit in the past, but I feel like caster and kickup go a bit hand in hand just because, well, as you adjust your kickup, you're also adjusting your caster. So today we're going to take my Buggy, which is in a bit of a rebuild mode at the moment, hence why there's no wing shocks. It's even missing some driveline stuff in the center, but it is good enough to talk about our caster. So what we're gonna do is we'll swap camera views around, get you a more up close look of our caster block, go over kind of what the caster looks like, what your tuning options are, and then what those tuning options are going to do for you on the track. And then we'll back that up with going over, or I guess going over what our different kickup stuff will do. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get you guys swapped around. All right, so now we have a good visual of my caster block here. Let's go ahead and first we're gonna go over just what caster looks like. Then we'll talk about what the tuning options are with it, and then why those tuning options are a thing, kind of like give a little bit of background, a little bit of sense behind it. That way you understand why these effects are happening. So on my caster block here from the factory, you can see it's pretty lean back, but as a general rule of thumb, it's going to be your angle from your lower mounting point to your upper mounting point. So for example, if I took my driver here and I set it kind of like that on my caster block, that would be what is considered a zero caster. Now, as you lean it back, you're going to increase your caster. And like I said, this is the 21-degree block. So you can see my point from here to here is pretty lean back. If I were to go to an 18-degree block, for example, then it would come up a little bit. If I were to go to like a 15-degree block, it'll keep coming up until, of course, like I said, you would hit a technical zero caster point. Now, it's going to be the same thing on a pillow ball car. Instead of looking at kind of these two pivot screws or like an upper camber link, you're going to be looking at, you've got in your upright on your pillow ball car, you've got a massive set screw on the bottom and a massive set screw on the top. So just instead of using these two holding screws, it'll be the angle from that lower giant set screw to the upper giant set screw on that pillow ball car. So they're going to look a little bit different, but it is going to be the exact same concept. Now, to talk about what the caster is actually going to do, if you have less caster, so your arm is stood, or your caster block is stood more up and down, you're going to decrease your straight line stability, and you're going to increase your off power steering, especially at corner entry. But generally speaking, the car is just going to feel a lot more reactive all the way around, whether it be on a high speed or a low speed section of the track. Like I said, it's just going to generally feel more aggressive. Now, if you increase your caster angle, so you lean it back down, then you're going to increase your straight line stability. You're going to decrease your off power steering at corner entry, mostly decrease steering just about everywhere. And it's going to make the car more stable on a bumpy track that you're going to be driving on. So again, less caster, more aggressive. More caster is going to be less aggressive. It's going to be easier to drive around the track. Now, to go over kind of how you change the caster on a couple vehicles, the C-Hub style, you do unfortunately have to change this entire pivot block out. I don't know if pivot block is technically the correct way. This caster block, you have to change the entire thing out. You can't just very quickly change just your caster. This whole block would have to change from, in this case, the 21 to an 18 or 15, but that is the only way to change it on these guys. On a pillow ball car, it is much easier because at the upper arm mounting behind the tower, you do have some clips, and those clips are going to allow you to move the upper arm forward and backward, which is going to be a quicker, easier way to change your caster. Now, there are going to be minor ways to kind of change your caster. On this particular car, there's no shims at the A and B block for the, like whether you have the arm mounted forward or backward. But if your car does have a lower shim option, theoretically, if you were to move the arm further back, it would technically take away caster. Move the arm forward, it'll technically add caster, but it's such a minor thing, I wouldn't even necessarily worry about that. But it is another way to very, very minorly change it. So to kind of get back to the main root of things, I got a little off course there with the that arm shim thing. But the caster, the reason why on a more caster vehicle, it's going to feel smoother on a bumpy track is because it's going to affect the contact patch through the steering of the vehicle. So it does play a slight factor into, of course, what your camera is going to do around. So if I were to take this part of my car, let's say we're steering this way, so this is the inside, what you're going to notice, and this is going to be a little funky here, I don't have a lot of space, but let's say that this is just a flat tire. As I'm getting closer to this position, you're going to notice, I don't know if I can get it to focus, but you're going to notice that the tire is going to lean. So this will be the inside tire. Now on the outside, I don't have a great visual here, but the outside tire is also going to be more leaned in on the top towards the inside of the turn, meaning that at full lock like this, you will have more camber on that outside tire. The reason that's important to note is because the tire is leaned in more, it's going to scoot over those bumps. It's not going to be as grabby on the side of the wheel, so it's going to be easier to drive. It's going to float over those rough, bumpy sections a little bit easier. Whereas as you take caster out of it, you stand this block more up, or you move your upper arms more forward, then you're going to have more contact patch on that outside tire, so you'll have less camber gain per se. And because the tire is flatter, as the car leans onto it, the wheel and the sidewall of the tire is going to be more prone to being grabby on those bumpier, rougher style tracks. So to give a recap of kind of everything before we switch over to our kick-up end of things, having less caster means you're going to be more stood up. More caster is more leaned back. Less caster is going to be less stable. It's going to be more aggressive. More caster, so more lean back, is going to be more stable. It's going to decrease your steering, and it's going to be better on bumpier tracks. The ways to adjust it will, of course, be to either on a C-up car, change this entire block out, or on a pillowball car, move your upper arm behind the tower forward or backward. So now we've gone over pretty much all of the ins and outs of kick-up. Of caster, we will go ahead and chat about our kick-up. So I was gonna do kick-up on the car itself, but I couldn't get a great visual, so I figured we'd go to the trusty high-class Sharpie and paper to get a better visual idea. Now, the one thing I will say is that imagine this, but you're looking at it from the side of the vehicle. So let's say that you have the car on the ground and you're looking at it from the wheel, not from the top down, but from the wheel from the side of the vehicle. That way we know what we're looking at here. So this, of course, is going to be our A block, and this is, of course, going to be our B block. And then we'll use my trusty 2.5 MIP to give an idea of the different angles. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is we'll talk about more kick-up. So that's when your A block is higher than your B block. This isn't working. There we go. If I hold the paper like that, you get a better idea. So A block hill is higher than your B block. And the reason why I also said earlier that this goes hand in hand with caster is because as you adjust your kick-up, you're actually increasing your caster. If you go higher in your A, lower in your B. If you level your A and B, or go lower in the A, higher in the B, then you're taking caster away. Now we've gone over that little snippet, we can talk about what the different kick-up is going to do. So more kick-up, so higher A, lower B. What that's going to do is your kind of initial under braking, the car is going to dive a tick more. And the reason for that is because now the arm is more in line with how the weight is transferring from the back. So it's technically making it a tick softer on that initial brake hit. So you're going to notice that the chassis is going to compress a little bit more, again, under braking. What this is going to do, though, is with more kick-up, is you're going to have better handling on bumpy tracks. So just like we were talking with the caster, increasing caster is better on bumpy tracks. Increasing kick-up is also better on bumpy tracks. And again, just like caster, as you have more kick-up, you're going to decrease your steering response because not only are you adding kick-up at the blocks, but you're also adding caster to the vehicle. Now, if we switch to less kick-up, so we go lower in the A, higher in the B, just like everything else, we'll get a bit of an opposite effect. So this is going to under just kind of that initial braking hit, you'll notice a little bit less weight transfer. Your front's gonna feel stiffer because now the weight transfer isn't as in line with the angle of the shocks. So it's gonna feel, like I said, a little bit stiffer. It's gonna have less compression under that braking. This is going to be a increased steering response, definitely something that you're going to have more specifically on a smooth track. So just like the caster block, as you take caster out of it, you're flattening it out, just like we have with our A and our B block. We're lowering it, taking that caster out. It's gonna feel more aggressive. It's gonna feel a little bit less stable in the high speed stuff, but you're gonna notice very specifically that you're going to have an increased steering response. And because it gets twitchy, it's not something that you're gonna wanna see be used on a bumpy track. Definitely something that's gonna be more reserved for something like our indoor track here at Adrenaline. It is going to allow the car to be more twitchy and on the nose and feel a little bit more aggressive. So as a quick recap, we'll go back to our more kick up. It's going to basically just make the car easier to drive. It's gonna feel a bit more numb. It's gonna be better on the bumpy tracks, a little bit less reactive on the steering wheel. And then as we go lower in the A, higher in the B, the big thing you're gonna notice is it's going to be more twitchy, more reactive. The car is gonna feel definitely a lot more on the front end in the sense of you get that more pointy effect. So you're going to have to be quicker on potentially saving the car or just not being nearly as aggressive on the wheel because the car is going to be more aggressive. So that will pretty much cover everything for our caster and for our kick up. Again, today we did a little bit of a recap on the kick up because I've done it before, but gives you a good idea and gives you a better idea of the fact that they go hand in hand together. So thank you for hanging out with me today and listening to me yap about some more tuning stuff. I hope it's been helpful for you, and we'll see you in the next one.